Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Penny Prepper. Today's video, we're just going to be discussing if you feel as though you are actually prepared, taking a no-holds-bar actual stock of your preps and your ability for your preparedness plans, and seeing if you are ready for the contingencies or emergencies that you are preparing for. So like I just said, this video is going to be talking about, are you prepared? Not are your preps to where you'd like to have them. It's not about if you feel as though you're prepared for everything. It's more just a general preparedness question. So what I mean by that is, for me, for instance, one of my biggest fears, one of the things that I prep the most for or get ready for is going to be a grid down situation, typically from your run-of-the-mill electromagnetic pulse, whether it is a electromagnetic pulse from a coronal mass ejection or a man-made nuclear device detonation higher up in the atmosphere, something like that. Now, some others, their worst case scenario or their SHTF situation is going to be something that is more likely to occur. Here in Pennsylvania, we rarely have to deal with tornadoes. We rarely have to deal with floods where I'm at specifically. Earthquakes are not very common, even though we have a mountain range right near where I live. But really, it's about what are your biggest preps and what are you getting ready for. It may be something as simple as job loss. It may be something like a family member getting sick and you having to help them out. It all depends on what your ultimate SHTF situation is. And I'm not saying that me preparing for an electromagnetic pulse should trump anybody's other SHTF situation. If your ultimate worry is one of your children getting sick, or a family member or a spouse getting sick and not being able to financially compensate and cover them, I mean, that can ultimately destroy somebody's life, essentially, not only emotionally, physically, but financially. And really, that's really what it boils down to, is what would be a worst case scenario that could ultimately ruin or make your life very hard. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that an SHTF situation for me wouldn't be having my spouse become ill or having a family member become ill. Very well could be the straw that broke the camel's back, or something that drives me into a financial hole that I just simply can't get out of. What I'm saying is, you don't need to have a plan for some big, fancy, world-ending, apocalyptic disaster. To be prepared, really, you just need to come up with a financial plan if you feel as though that might be something that could ultimately ruin things for you, or maybe say that you do have somebody that has a past medical history. Learning how to prepare for an eventuality where they do get sick, or maybe they have a complication, or learning some life-saving abilities, something like that. It's preparedness as a whole. It's not relying on a nurse to take care of that person. It's not relying on a government bailout, because fact of the matter is, when push comes to shove, chances are that won't be there when you need it. And I don't want this to sound like a doom and gloom type video, where I'm sure if you're a prepper, you've heard that term before, and you've heard a lot of people focus more on the negative side of things. I'm going to start focusing more on what I like to call freedom and fortune. Basically, the idea of, instead of doom and gloom, we're going to flip it on its head. We're going to look at the positives, or better ways of thinking of doing things. Not saying, oh, you're going to die if you don't do this. I'm going to say, well, instead of that, I'm going to say more, these are the things that you can do to better prepare yourself. and avoid disaster. Maybe even not saying avoid disaster. I'm more in the mentality of talking about positives. I understand that the doom and gloom gets the click, but I'm not here for that. I'm here to try to get people to prepare, get ready for emergencies. Being a first responder for many years, that's something that I feel is very lacking. But I'm going to end this video with the one thing that I definitely, if you're new to prepping, even if you aren't new to prepping and you've been prepping for a while, one of the things I want you to really get a sense of and a level of preparedness, basically, I want you to test it a little bit. And that's going to be to see if you have the mentality down yet. And when I say that, I'm not talking about, do you have the mentality to survive 20 years in a post-apocalyptic wasteland? What I am saying is, do you have the ability to, right now, as I'm speaking, let's say that the lights were to go out, the phone were to stop working, and you have no power, no grid, no water, what are you going to do? Or let's say you take your worst case scenario, SHTF situation, whatever it may be, and I want you to think, you get that phone call, or you get that alert on your phone right now. Think through it. I want you to get out a paper and pen and write down exactly what you're going to do in the next 10 minutes. And after that 10 minutes, what are you going to do after that? Are you going to start by making phone calls to your loved ones, if you're able to? Are you going to gather your family in the house and tell them what the plan is? Are you going to go to your location in your house that you have a binder with different scenarios and what you're going to do? Are you going to pull that out and start going through the list? If not, then you stumbled on the right video, and you really need to take into account, are you ready? And I'm not here to put anybody down. If you are simply not ready for your worst case scenario, that's fine. But that's why you need to prepare. For instance, me, I've built my own Faraday cages to block electromagnetic pulses. I won't know that they're going to work for sure until that time comes. Am I prepared? Yes, I'm prepared. But there's also a lot of instances where you can have the most preparations ready. If I were to suffer a house fire today, and then tomorrow an electromagnetic pulse were to go off, it would simply destroy all of my preparedness plans. So am I ready for a house fire? Is anybody? That's all we have for today's video. I have been kind of busy lately. I have not been able to get out into the mountains like I'd like to. I've had a lot of family events, obviously with the holidays. I also have been preparing for something where it has taken a considerable chunk of my time. So as far as me going up into the mountains, I am going to try. I have some days coming up that I do plan on going up there. So if there's anything you'd like to see me test out, or anything that you would like to know, I do have my email address listed on my YouTube channel page in the About section. Feel free to message me any questions that you have, whether it's about my background or any specific questions that you would like to know about, and I will try to answer them in a very timely manner. That's all I have for today. Stay safe, stay prepared.